Hey guys, this is Drakkalan bringing another Kingdom of Heroes Tactics War video. Today we're going to be talking about the summoning of Hildegard. Hildegard is a combination hero that you get by creating these Nat 4s, which you can either combine or just summon. Obviously this one on the end is a Nat 3 that we just summon. You can look at the different combination values if you click on this combine button in the lower left hand corner underneath the image of the hero you're trying to do. So click that and you can see the sub-heroes that are necessary. I've already built out a lot of these sub-heroes before I was fortunate enough to summon the necessary 4-star. So in this case, we're going to make our first combination 5-star hero, Hildegard, and then we'll do a little bit of discussion about her and how I plan to use her. As you can see, it is a female warrior that taunts enemies and shares damage with allies. So hopefully that's going to be pretty useful. And we'll get a little bit more in depth once we get her built. So hit this combine button at the top. Click on the fodder that we're going to be using to make her. These are all max level 5-star heroes that have been awoken. So it's a pretty heavy XP investment to get them there, and it's a pretty heavy energy investment between leveling them up and, you know, getting the awakening materials. Awakening materials is probably what took the longest amount of time, but I just set it to 20 void runs. Usually that gets me enough to do one awakening, and then I do 20 whatever element I need to do, and maybe another 20 of that same element just to get enough of the specific elemental stones. And then 50,000 silver to do the combination of all of this. So pop that, combine now, confirm, and we're getting a free nat 5 basically. So can't complain too. I'll say free, but you know, time wise. Get the nice bright lights and such divine light like usual. And here we get Hildegard, a water guardian. So let's take a quick look at the abilities. The saying that goes with Hildegard: either I win or run away to fight another day. I will not be defeated. So the S1 is Whirlwind. It reduces defense. Attacks enemies within a target area. This skill's damage increases when you have greater max HP. Successful hits have a 40% chance to reduce the target's defense for 1 turn and to reduce Mr. Skull's protections cooldown by 1 turn. So you're getting a little bit of a cooldown reduction, and the biggest thing is a skill 1 defense break, even though it's only 1 turn. That's going to be pretty nice. And then the max HP, right? That tells us that we want to put her on an HP build to make her more tanky, deal more damage. Being a water guardian, you already lean towards the guardian aspect of it needing more HP. So we're going to want a little bit of accuracy for that defense break, probably a little bit of speed to try to get her to go first. That way we're not wasting that defense break by letting the enemy cut in and, you know, take the turn, and then that defense break is gone. And obviously HP is going to be the primary stat to make sure she's putting out some decent numbers. S2, Icy Aura, this is her provoke. Attacks enemies within a target area with a giant icy sword, clouding enemy judgment. Successful hits have a 50% chance to increase all skill cooldowns of enemies hit by 1 turn and to provoke them for 1 turn. So this is pretty nice, putting their skills on cooldown and provoking them. So we're already building her HP to make her tanky. She's a guardian nat 5, so she's already going to have nice base stats to go into it. So again, and this is where the accuracy comes in to make sure you land that provoke. And I don't think accuracy is going to affect the skill cooldowns. I think as long as you land the provoke, that's going to probably do the cooldowns, but I would, you know, you're going to be stacking accuracy anyway, so it'll help regardless. And it seems like everything's kind of an AoE attack so far, right? This is attacks enemies within area, and skill 1 says attacks enemies within targeted area. So it's going to hit multiple targets on S1, it's going to hit multiple targets on S2. Now S2 has a long cooldown with that 5-turn cooldown. I'm not sure what it'll go down to. We'll take a look at that in a minute. Maybe putting in some skill ups to lower that to where it's more beneficial. And then we've got S3, Mr. Skull's Protection. This is where she shares damage across all allies. So, Mr. Skull's Protection. With more Skull's powers, I'm sorry, if I could read. With Mr. Skull's powers, removes all active debuffs from you and target ally. Reduces a portion of the damage taken by the target ally and directs 50% of this damage to yourself for 2 turns. Only debuffs are removed if used on self. So it's a self cleanse. Well, okay, so that's a little bit, that's worded strange, right? Because in the first line it says removes all active debuffs from you and target ally. But then it says at the bottom in parentheses, only debuffs are removed if used on self. So we'll have to play with that a little bit, see how that works. We may do another video on that, just because I'm going to have to probably run through a few times to make sure I get some debuffs landed on her and then go from there. But the share damage is interesting, right? Because she's already going to be built tanky, then if she can take 50% of the damage off of DPS hero or anybody that's near death, that'll definitely be beneficial. And a lot of these abilities that I'm looking for, right, as far as the cooldown times and stuff, Toa Hard, or Toa Tower of Arrogance Hard mode, I've only gone up maybe 5 to 10 floors. I haven't really dug into it yet, but I've been watching some videos of other streamers and YouTubers. It's going to be extremely hard, so I'm looking for very specific skill kits. I'm looking for a lot of stuns, attack bar pushbacks, because basically once you get up into the 30s and 40s of hard mode, you don't want them to take any turns if you can avoid it, or at least only have 1 or 2 of the enemies you're fighting take a turn so that you can survive through it. And having these skills that kind of reduce damage, share damage, etc., it'll ensure that if you don't get them stunned, they knock one of your guys down or get them close to down, it gives you a chance to recover. Alright, then we've got the leader skill, of course. Leader of the Battleground increases all allies' attack with water attribute by 29%. So that's not great. You know, it'll be nice to use it in, say, like the fire dungeon or any kind of situation where having all water heroes is good. But we've already got, and I was looking up how to pronounce it, right? So Matt the Dark, Nat 4, it's Mahat is the way it's supposed to be said. So Mahat is already taken this role of a 30% leader skill, and it applies to everybody. And there's also the other Nat 4 fire hero, I think Muspel, and he also does a 30% for everybody attack buff, so you know that's beneficial. So again, this is kind of 1% difference, not a big deal, but the fact that it's only water attribute makes it a little bit less valuable unless we're running specific scenarios where we use all water heroes. So let's jump down, return, and let's go read the reviews on her specifically just to see what everybody else is doing. I'm gonna go ahead and do this because I don't want to take the time to farm all that up. I don't recommend doing this, right? You can probably with 450 gems farm all this without much of a problem, and I know I've got plenty of void essence already, the bigger ones. The medium void fragments I don't have nearly enough of. Those are what I'm using the most of, creating all these other units, and I'm out of the water ones as well. I farmed just enough to get to where we're at, but we'll go ahead and be lazy. Open the pack now, and we're good to go. Alright. So let's jump into Hildegard. We'll awaken her. And I like how they go ahead and pre-lock your Nat 5 so you can't mess it up, because I am definitely along the lines of somebody that would mess that up. So 5,000 silver on top of the essence that's needed. That gets us Mr. Skull's protection. Alright, let's look at the reviews. Yep, so my favorite character in game, 24 hours of straight grinding was worth it. Best tank, lovely tank. Frozen hell upon enemies, I'm looking for something more useful. Tank and attacker, yep. Absolute beast in every aspect of the game. That's a level 69 player, so they've been here for a minute. Can't read this. I don't know if that code is active, you guys can try it. Yeah, see, and this is kind of a waste, guys. Please don't do this. Please don't fill up the reviews with useless information or just, hey, I'm the first or whatever. If you're going to put something in here, make it viable, or at least rank up the ones that are viable. But the way they've got her built is exactly what I would do. I would probably start off on life runes just because they're easier to get, and then go into vampire to keep her up, right? Especially if she's taking 50% of the damage of another hero. And she's got those 2 AoE attacks, so she's going to be basically giving herself several hundred, probably up to 1,000 with really good runes, self-regen, or I say self-regen, self-healing with that vampire set. Earthquake is definitely where I think she's going to shine, right? You put her in with a good priest like Vivian, Rhea, Daphne's, maybe a tree priest just so you have a little bit of color variation, and she's going to do extremely well everywhere with that skill kit that she's got. So definitely agree with this. Vampire Life Earthquake. I would probably build her, if you're trying to go for some good solid hits, HP crit rate, HP or HP crit damage, HP, if you can get good enough substats. Early game, you may be lacking the substats and just need her to survive, so you might want to go HP, HP, HP. Or if you're trying to use her as a tank, and maybe she can farm, right, with the AoE skills, we'll have to test it out a little bit and see how good that AoE hits. And maybe she could be an early game farmer. It's hard to tell until we see it in action and see how that AI functions. And I've got 322 life runes, but most of that's trash. But I've probably got some decent runes I could stick on her. I don't know why I took that up to plus 13. I probably wasn't paying attention. It's a slot 2 flat stat, so don't follow my route, guys. But definitely going to put some effort into Hildegard, even though we've already got Whitebeard, who I think is a great water tank as well. We've also got Vivian, but like I said, I want to build up some serious good mono teams. My grass team, tree team, whatever you want to call it, right now is going to be Ingwe as the Guardian, Raja Prey as my DPS, and then I've got Daphne up here as the healer. And this is definitely a solid team if you're looking for a solid grass team, right? You've got a tank that's going to provoke, keep himself up a little bit, help keep everybody else up. Raja, she puts out a defense buff and deals some pretty good multi-target damage. And then you've got Prey. We'll do a video on her later, but she's got a pretty solid skill set as well. My runes on her aren't the best, but like I said, we'll cover that in another video. Same with Daphne. Daphne needs an overhaul on her runes. And that's it for Hildegard, guys. If you want to see more detail, you want to do some testing with her, let me know. Leave it in the comments below. I've got to obviously, spend some time leveling her up first. I've already got a line of 6 stars to make, so she'll just be added in there as I deem necessary. I am going to start running rune dungeons here, like I said, in the next week or two, so we'll focus on that. Maybe she'll find a way into one of those teams. So, hope you guys have a great weekend and a great night.